Introduction. Why this book? In this chapter, I'll explain why I have chosen to make this book and what purpose it can serve for you. This will help you figure out if it is something you want to invest your time and effort into. We live in an amazing time, and we have all this completely amazing technology around us. I love airplanes because they lift me off the ground, violently rebelling against gravity. I love coffee, the smell, the taste, and the good conversations. I think the internet is pretty interesting, and recently I've even been warming towards my phone. There are of course many other examples, but I think you get the point. What I find is that all this digital technology, our phones, laptops, tablets, email, and so on, it's really good if you know exactly what your goal is and you can divide the goal into clearly defined steps. That's how we do a lot of our work. It works really well for executing. It also works well for connecting people and things near and far. My pencil stylus talks to the iPad over Bluetooth, and I Skype with my grandmother in Denmark. Finally, I see that technology is great for doing things at a massive scale. Things that can reach lots of people at virtually no cost. So there's a space where technology, as we have it, is great, and I've marked it here on the page. But what about the things that fall outside of this technology space of executing, connecting, and scaling? Are there times and situations where modern technology is not delivering in the same awesome way? In both my personal, creative work and in my work coaching entrepreneurs, I've seen the same pattern again and again. There are many times where the goal is not clearly defined, and therefore it cannot be broken into neat little steps. When you're the one creating, building a company, and setting the vision for the future, then the goal must be chosen by you. But how do you do that? How do you really hatch out a clear vision? Never say never, but I've yet to see a digital tool that truly helps here. Please understand that I'm not against technology. This is not a nostalgia-driven crusade to rewind the collective time machine to an earlier time before computers and internet. All I'm trying to say is that there are certain aspects of creative life where the innate focus on efficiency that seems to be built into almost every technology is actually not that beneficial. I could of course be wrong, but I truly believe that for personal awareness, reflection, creativity, and focus, there's still nothing better than a blank sheet of paper and a good pen or two. To be honest, I'm not really sure why pen and paper seems to work. I have some abstract pseudo-philosophical theories that I will spare you for now. I think what matters is that it's how I actually do my own work, and I really feel that it helps me think better. I've also seen the tremendous impact these techniques have had on many of the people I have coached. So eventually, I decided to do a little online class to teach the most basic fundamentals. Then FiftyThree, maker of the paper app, they came along and said, "We really like what you're doing. Can't you do some of this stuff on an iPad with our paper app?" Scandinavian as I am, I was of course immediately skeptical. I know how my analog paper and my analog pens make me think better. But a virtual notebook on a digital device? What about reflection? What about focus? But I also like the guys at FiftyThree, and I have a lot of respect for what they're doing. So I sat down with my analog paper and thought about it. And while my skepticism remained, it was at least overshadowed by a sense of curiosity. Is it actually possible to think clearly on a screen? Maybe. And I began exploring. It's been a few months now, but even early on, it became clear to me that yes, it is indeed possible. I've found that it is both possible and enjoyable to do actual creative thinking and reflection in the paper app. I've built this entire book directly on paper, including reflections, vision, drafting, things I would normally always do analog. I don't plan to give up my physical notebooks anytime soon, but I plan to keep my new iPad, paper and pencil as part of my toolbox for the future. Thus, In this book, you will learn the methods, tips, and tricks that I have developed as I try to adapt my analog pen and paper thinking process to the iPad. This brings us to the first thing. You need to find a reason to use paper for yourself. I played around with the app for about a week and just did random experiments, testing the differences in drawing and writing, but I wasn't committing to the app. It was just a toy. It was only when I decided to make this book completely in the app that I began actually using paper and taking it seriously as an actual tool. So before we go any further, please ask yourself, which parts of your daily life would you like to do in paper? Try initially to just explore all the things you theoretically could do, just like I've done in my example here. And then after that, read through your answers and pick one of them that you will commit to. It should be something that you will naturally need to do at least once a week. I'll be blunt here. I really think that if you don't do this and don't commit to shifting just one thing in your life into paper, even if it's just your list for grocery shopping, then the rest of this book will be virtually useless. So to sum it up, technology is great for many things, but there are also aspects of life where technology may not be serving us as well, particularly around reflection and creativity. For this, I propose that it can be useful to know some basic skills and use pen and paper or the digital equivalent in the paper app. I also propose that it will only work if you commit to actually switching one thing in your life into paper. This was all for the introduction.